Hi everyone, welcome to the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. And thank you for all your emails, all your feedback, all your support. Thank you for that. Thank you for the shares, the new listeners. I'm really excited for the podcast and the community to grow, because I know we can make some change in regards to how people see spoonies. But let's get into today's episode, shall we? Now, on today's episode, I want to ask you this. Are you on fight or flight mode? Now, what exactly is fight or flight mode? I didn't know what it was growing up or anything. I just learned about it recently. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because since I didn't know what it was, it kind of surprised me. Now, the fight or flight mode, what that is pretty much the response that is triggered by the release of hormones that prepare your body to either stay or deal with a threat or run for safety or to safety. Now, I've been on fight or flight mode pretty much my entire life because of everything that I have talked to in the blog or throughout the episodes of the podcast. So I was on mostly fight mode. But here's the thing though. This affects your life in so many ways. It's like it's the way that it affects your life. It's incredible, because here's what happens though. When you're on fight or flight mode, you literally can be triggered by both real or imaginary threats. So you don't even need to see the threat. It can be something that you just heard, something that your mind made up, something that is not even there. So you might go into like fight mode and fight somebody else for something that you might have heard incorrectly, or you might start running because you felt scared of something that you heard, like somebody slammed the door behind you and you got scared and then you start running. So that's pretty much what it is. And one of the things that this is happening, and don't worry about this because everybody has this response. The problem when it gets like not annoying, but when it starts affecting your life, is when we don't even know that we're on this particular mode, or we don't even know what's causing it, because it happens in our brains. That's the thing. It's like we're not programmed, or we're not raised or educated to know how our brain works. So depending on what happened to you growing up, like if you've been traumatized, if you suffer some kind of trauma, or there's something that happened in your life that triggers this in your brain, then that's something that you might have to look into. Because what happens, and like I just mentioned, like if there's a real threat, what happens is that in your brain, the amygdala is pretty much what causes this. The amygdala is what causes this, is pretty much what says like, okay, run or fight for your life. Run for your life, fight for your life. That's pretty much what it does. And if there are chemical imbalances on your brain, which it can happen, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be happening in your brain that we don't know about. And that's why I'm so eager to learn more about the brain, because I know that could be me, and it was me at one point. So there's a lot of things that could be happening in your brain, like chemical imbalances. If for some reason, like I said, you had some kind of trauma, you had something that happened to you. It could be even like brain trauma that's causing it, because it can cause some kind of like chemical change in your brain, or physical change in your brain, and that can be causing the actual chemical imbalance in your brain. So that's why if you're in this type of mode all the time, it's okay to go see a doctor. It's not just in your mind, because when you're in this mode, you're gonna be you could have anxiety, because you might be scared of what's coming. You might be overthinking, like, oh my gosh, am I gonna do good? Because obviously nobody wants to fail, nobody wants to look like a fool, nobody wants to look dumb or anything like that. So that can that can cause it. Or if you have depression, it's because, you know, like, it can be triggered by this as well, because you keep thinking about the past, like, I should have done this, I should have done that, this shouldn't have happened, and then obviously that can cause depression. But it's pretty much part of the same thing. Now, here's what I wanted to talk about, and this is why I'm excited, because I wanted to talk about how your body reacts or acts when you're in fight or flight mode. And some of these things that I found, and I'm like, I started paying more attention to myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Now, this is what happens. It causes for you to have dilated pupils. In times of danger, the body prepares itself to be aware of its surroundings. So dilation of the pupils allows more light into your eyes and results in a better vision of your surroundings. So when you have your eyes get all dilated, or your pupils get all dilated, so you can actually see more, so you can actually have a wider look of your surroundings. So sometimes I've seen it. It happens to me, like, all the time. I have my pupils get all dilated, and I'm all like, why is this? Like, I see it, and I'm like, people are gonna think that I'm on something, you know? But then I start asking myself questions like, what's going on? And then I'm like, oh, I feel scared because of this, you know, like there was like a noise behind me. So that kind of gets scary. And one of the things that I realized, and I remember this, is that if you watch a scary movie, I was watching a scary movie the other day when I was researching this, my pupils got so dilated. I was watching Insidious, and if you have watched that movie, it's pretty scary. So I looked into my eyes, and they were all dilated. So I was like, okay, that makes more sense. So that makes a lot of sense for me. Now, another thing that happens to your body is that you might have pale or flushed skin. Now, the reason why this happens is because the blood flow to the surface areas of the body is reduced, while flow to the muscles, brain, legs, and arms is increased. Paleness, or alternating between pale and flushed face as blood rushes to the head and brain, is common. The body's blood clotting ability also increases to prevent excess blood loss in the event of injury. Now, this is very, very important to know. And the reason why is because if you've been on fight or flight mode for your entire life, like me, and you have, or maybe you didn't even know, but there's certain things that happen on your blood that can, or your blood might have clotting factors. There are clotting factors, and depending on how many clotting factors you have, your blood might clot faster. And sometimes you might have blood clots in your body. It could be in your legs, in your brain. Obviously, that causes a stroke. But this can actually cause you to have blood clots on your body, and then that can cause even a bigger issue, because if the blood clot travels in your body, it can hurt your lungs, it can hurt your heart, and obviously if it goes to your brain, it can cause an actual stroke. Now, so you just be aware of that, because this actually hurts your body. So I don't want you to hurt your body for something that might not be real. It could have been something in the past. So you have to take care of yourself, and don't take this as I'm judging you. No. I'm not judging you. I just want you to get better, because by being on fight or flight mode, like I just mentioned, you might cause yourself to have a blood clot form somewhere in your body, and that is dangerous. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is and that's actually one of the things that will happen to me all the time, and it still is happening, is rapid heart rate and breathing. Heartbeat and respiration rate increase to provide the body with energy and oxygen needed to fuel a rapid response to danger. So when you start getting scared or anything like that, or you're ready to fight, you know how fighters go like, you know, like they start to like breathe very heavily, or if you've ever been in a fight, you can see that your heart rate, or you can feel that your heart rate keeps going up, and you start breathing more and more because your body needs that energy to either run or fight. So if you're on this particular fight or flight mode, and you ever feel like all of the sudden you start breathing heavily, like it might be because something might have triggered. Obviously, we don't know what could be triggering. Everything depends on the person, but that's something for you to find out. I'm just telling you what to look for, okay? And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the trembling. I've seen it, this happens to me, where the muscles tense and become primed for action and can cause trembling and shaking. Now, this is when I don't know if this has ever happened to you, when you're ready to fight and your hands start shaking. That's pretty much what it is. Or if you get too scared and you start shaking because of fear. And unfortunately, sometimes the fear will paralyze you. But that's pretty much what this does to your body. There are some things that you need to look into, like, for example, with the blood clot. If you have, like I said, clotting factors, then that can actually hurt you in the long run if you're in fight or flight mode all the time, because your blood is gonna clot even faster. So that's something that I am going to look into, because my blood, anytime like I caught myself like shaving or something like that, it clots very fast. But then I met my wife, and she told me about clotting factors, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look into this. And then I read this, and I'm like, I really have to look into this, because I'm like, what if I'm doing this to myself? Like, I'm creating a blood clot somewhere in my body by being in fight or flight mode. But now, what can you do about this? This is the important part, and this is where I get excited to talk about this, because what you can do about it, the first thing that you can do is breathing exercises. One of the things that I have been able to find is how in Japan, like or people in Asia, what they do with yoga and meditation is that when they feel on fight or flight mode, when they feel like they're in this particular mode, they do 6 deep breaths. They go like this. They hold it in, and they let it out. They do it 6 times, and what that does is that it actually helps the brain calm. It brings a little calmness to your brain. It gives you oxygen. It kind of like helps you relax your body. That's pretty much what that does. So that actually is going to help you if you ever want to try it. I have tried it, and it works for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you though, but all you can do is try, literally. Now, another thing that will help is, obviously, and I have always talked about this, is going to therapy to figure out exactly what's causing it. Because if something happened to you in the past, or some kind of trauma, and your brain is blocking it, you might not remember it, but still it's gonna be there. Like, your brain is gonna remember that, and if something triggers that particular feeling in your brain, your brain is gonna react to that, and it's gonna put you in fight or flight mode. And you might not even know why. You might just feel like, oh my gosh, what anxious. You might be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to do this. There might be trigger words. There might be trigger actions of somebody. Like, there might be a trigger and you don't even know. For me, it was the way that people speak to me, because of the way that I was raised. I will get mad if somebody will yell at me. So and I never understood why. It was just like, okay, that's the way that I am. But when I went to therapy, I figured out why. So that's why I always recommend to go to therapy. But if you don't want to go, or you have gone to therapy and there's no changes, and you have tried the breathing exercises, another thing that you can do is literally, you will have to go to the doctor. But you have to, and this is going to be the difficult part about this, but you're going to have to go to a good doctor, because there could be a chemical imbalance in your brain. If there's a chemical imbalance in your brain and it's affecting your amygdala, or the sympathetic nervous system, or the limbic brain, that's why they call it as well, they might have to put you in medicine, and the medicine might help. Or I I saw this case a long time ago when I was doing this research, but there was a case where this person had a tumor in her brain, and she was on, like, so scared all the time. Literally, she was on fight or flight mode all the time, and it was because the tumor was so close to the amygdala that it was like pushing it. It was like touching it or something like that. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was in the amygdala area, and that will cause the person to go into fight or flight mode. Once she had that tumor removed, or I don't know exactly how they did, then she was fine. So there's a lot of things that can be causing this, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I don't want you as a Spoonie or a caregiver to feel that this is just you. No, this happens to everybody. Everybody has this particular response. It's how we've been wired since the beginning to literally survive as a species. So now with technology and everything like that, there's a lot of things that can be causing that, but it's up to you to figure out what's causing it. I'm just telling you the information that I found out and how it helped me. So this is why I like to do the podcast. So if you feel like you're on fight or flight mode, talk to yourself about it, talk to somebody about it, and if you don't know why that's happening, like I said, you can go to the doctor, you can go to therapy, you can try different things, you can do your own research. But if you're on this particular mode, what I want you to do is take care of yourself, because it can hurt you in the end. Like, you might not feel like it's doing anything to you right now, but protecting you, but in the end, or as we grow older, it can affect our health as well. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I'm really appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity to do the episodes and for you guys to listen. I really like it. Thank you. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so we can make this community grow. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and on YouTube. And if you want to share your story anonymously, don't forget to send it to me at thecaregiverandspoonie@gmail.com. And as always, take care of yourself and have a great day.